My son's girlfriend's mom just said something unspeakable. What is the worst thing you have heard parents say to their children? So here is the story. My son is a freshman in high school. We just moved to the area recently. Anyway, he liked this girl and asked her out. She said yes. So invited his girlfriend and her mother to our house for dinner. When they walk in, she literally looks around and says, "You better get knocked up quick, honey. This one's got money." With a completely straight face. What messed up things have you heard parents say? My grandmother once said to me, in front of my entire family, "I wish I could love you as much as I love all my other grandchildren." It was horrible. My mom is adopted and her siblings are not. Her grandmother had a vast collection of beautiful jewelry with a long family history dating back to the 1700s. She once told my mother, "You like these pretty jewels? I'm going to leave them to my granddaughters." My real granddaughters. My mom was 7. Rest of the story if people care. True to her word, my mom's sisters and female cousins inherited the vast collection of jewelry. It doesn't matter that some of it was rather valuable. Much of it had been passed down through the women of the family for generations, and had a ton of sentimental value. My mom got nothing. The rest of the surviving family also got thousands of dollars apiece. Happy ending. The girls each gave her one of the necklaces, brooches, rings, or bracelets. They offered her some of the money. She refused to take it. Her cousin, with whom she was always close, unfortunately passed away from cancer a few years back. She left my mom the exact amount that their grandmother had given each family member, with a note, "You are and always have been a cherished part of this family." Dated a girl in high school for a bit. Her parents loved me. Unfortunately, after a few months she decided I was a piece of shit. Whatever. The first time I went over to her house, her stepdad watched her go inside, then looked at me and said, "Yeah? Too bad she's a butterface, right?" He had to explain that to me. You're going to have to explain that to me. Everything looked good, but her face. Light bulb flashes on, thanks. I wanted to abort you, but no one would drive me to the clinic. Not only is she hilarious, the first thing she said was a compliment about your house. Though, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here. If she's really that trashy to think that's how you keep someone around / gain financial stability, shame on her, but the girlfriend isn't necessarily anything like the mother. No big deal. I was suspecting something flat out abusive, not just awkward. My grandmother tried to sell me when I was a baby. The only thing that stopped her was my great aunt shoving a shotgun in her face. Your great aunt sounds ducking badass. Remember to swallow or we don't get all the money. I was 12 years old. A new girl arrived at our school. She was unpopular, quiet, wore a lot of makeup, and seemed to have no self-respect. I was a bit of a loner myself, so I befriended her for a while. She told me about all the different guys she'd had sex with, about smoking marijuana and drinking. I was shocked and a bit put off, but continued to hang out with her. I went to her house a few times. She lived in government-funded housing. Ugly, low income, depressing. Her house was a mess. Her mother reminded me of Mrs. Crabtree from South Park with a pack-a-day habit. Yelled at her a lot. This girl would sometimes be busy after school. She would say she has stuff she has to do, but wouldn't elaborate. Eventually she ended up telling me that she has sex with men for money that her mom sets up. They would come over and duck her in her bed. This was a couple times a week. Then her mom would take her to the mall and buy her a pair of bell bottoms or whatever, and keep the rest for herself. I was disgusted. We were in her bedroom one day. Her mom came in and told her that I had to go home because someone was coming over. My friend went into her mom's room to argue with her, and I stuck my head in the hallway to try and listen. I don't remember everything they said, but the last line always stuck with me. He just wants a blowjob. And remember to swallow or we don't get all the money. My cousin's stepdad told him during an argument over the phone, "Why don't you just go kill yourself if you are so depressed?" 2 hours later my cousin committed suicide by a gunshot to the head. He was 15. That escalated quickly. What was the argument about? My cousin was venting about his depression to him, and with his stepfather being the pull yourself up by the bootstraps type, He told him to suck it up and that he was being a pussy. It escalated from there. I had a patient whose father kept on asking the doctor how much weight he needed to lose in the middle of a crowded waiting room. The doctor tried to take him to the back but made the mistake of saying he's following his curve. The father flipped out and said, "I know he's a little fatty. I coach soccer and I'm absolutely disgusted by him when I see the other kids out there 20 to 30 pounds lighter than him." He said this in a crowded waiting room, in front of his 11-year-old son. The doctor finally gets him to the back. The waiting room is deathly silent. I take the son to finish his physical and another patient's mother approached him and said, "I know it hurts right now. I know you feel so terrible. But you don't deserve to be treated like that, no one does. And I want you to realize that one day very soon, you are going to realize that you are not the problem. And I hope when that day happens, his words stop hurting you. Because I know he's your dad and you're supposed to listen to him. But sweetie, adults can be very wrong sometimes." I was at my friend's house when I was little. I was in his room when he went to get something. I heard his argument with his mother downstairs. "Mother, you're the reason we are in this debt. Go kill yourself." My friend died at the age of 14 due to suicide with his father's revolver. Hits home. When I was in high school, my dad constantly and repeatedly blamed me to my face for my parents' marital problems. "If you had better grades then your mother wouldn't always be in such a bad mood. And then maybe we wouldn't argue all of the time." At the time I felt horribly guilty. But after getting older I had a sneaking suspicion that maybe the fact that my father was a perpetually unemployed, abusive, cheating, alcoholic, that my mother had to work 3 jobs to support had something to do with it. Or maybe it was when I got a D in English. I bet that hit her hard. One year on Mother's Day, my mother looked at me and my brother and said, "I wish I never had kids." On Mother's Day the previous year, she tried to kill herself. I overheard my ex-boyfriend's father tell him to take me out to the middle of the lake in the boat and tell me to give it up or swim to shore. Oh, and that I had to gold bitties. Classy dude. I was actually kicked out of my house tonight because I failed a Math 20 quiz. It's 2 days since I started the course, and we did a pop quiz to see what we already knew. I got 6 out of 13. My parents caught wind of this and my dad's reply, "You ain't very smart, are you? Shoulda killed yourself when you had the chance, but you were too stupid for that." Next Tuesday will be the 1-year anniversary of the day I attempted. Only reason I lived was a misfire. My dad straight up told me that he never wanted a child, but my mom did. The doctor made a mistake and told them they were having a boy, and when I came out a girl, my dad cried and walked out of the hospital. He legit didn't want me because I have a vagina. I was also 10 when he told me this. Your dad sucks. Having a daughter would be cool, because then you could legitimately play with ponies and no one could mock you. I was walking in front of a woman and her approximately 12-year-old daughter, and I heard the girl comment on how pretty she thought my dress was. This is what her mother said, "That's what whores wear. Is that what you want to be when you grow up? A short-haired slut like her? Are you gonna get pregnant next year? Are you gonna drop out of school and start drinking and doing drugs? Start whoring around? 'Cause that's what dresses like that do." Sometimes I don't know what I did to the good Lord to deserve a filthy devil worshipping daughter like you. I should mention that the dress I was wearing hit just above the knees and wasn't even tight or revealing. Not that it would have mattered anyway. Her mom was just a cunt. One time I walked into a Toys R Us, as a mother was walking out with her very young daughter. The little girl trips, hits her head on the ground with a massive thud, and starts crying. The mom yells at her for falling. I really hate it when shit like that happens. I know, right? Kids are so goddamn clumsy. I'm in line at the grocery store, and this lady and her kid are in front of me. The kid said, "Mama, I'm hungry," and the mother corrected him and said, "It's I be hungry." Yup, that kid doesn't have much of a future with that kind of parental guidance. It's never what they say, it's what they don't say that gets you the worst. Well, we should be careful about your weight. You're fat. Dear, your maturity level just quite isn't there yet. You horrible child who I hate for embarrassing me. Well, of course you're going to this college. I'm keeping my eye on you and never letting you have your own life. Well, those long distance friends only like you because they haven't met you. Implying that I'm impossible to like. Or talking to me about making sure I don't ever touch a girl, implying I'm some sort of molester or rapist. Or not bothering to talk to me about relationships because there's no way I would ever deserve one. It's never what they say, it's what they don't say. Edit. Some clarifications. My dad's a pretty cool dude, which is why he divorced my mom. She's the only parent consistently in my life, and for the last year or so I've been wishing it was the other way around.